stomp. They say a mouse can find a hole no bigger than your thumb, and they can crawl through skinny cracks for just a tiny crumb. That must be how they find their way into my house each fall. So I set traps and poisons out to stop that vermin crawl. Now laboratory mice are fine, they don't spread germs and fleas, and usually they're all encaged behind strong locking keys. But when I go down to the shop to get a can of grain, when I open up the lid, I swear I'll go insane. A blur of motion past my hand, I jerk it back up quick. 6 beady eyes stare up at me, grain bellies full and thick. I go into the saddle room to bring a halter out. Destructive critters nearly chewed through a rope that once was stout. The bulk dog food and paper sacks is stacked down in the barn. There's water stains from meadow mice that cause disease and harm. The fencing truck parked in the shop all winter sat at rest. Right besides the carburetor, they built a mouse's nest. At camp, they climb up through the walls. They keep me up at night. Will they eventually get through to where I see starlight? The tractor's electric wires are bare. The insulation's gone. The padding from the seats ripped out. The battle lines are drawn. The hay bale on the bottom row I had to move today. A condominium for mice beneath that haystack lay. I was wishing the Pied Piper would wander down my road to gather all these rodents up and take from my abode. I called the barn cats to my side. I called the ranch dogs too. I began the meadow mouse's stomp to rid that motley crew. It's not a pretty dance to watch. My feet step high and fast, but there's no way to get them all. There's some that do get past. They quickly multiply like flies. Their numbers don't abate. If you want to be a rancher, them mice you're going to have to fade. But I will gladly help you out while mice do freely roam. I'll give you some short lessons on the meadow mouse's stomp. 2 Corinthians 7:1 says, Therefore, having these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. You know, sometimes in life it seems like sin creeps in like those mice creep in. How many of you have already had mice coming in the house? Yes, they seem to always find a way in. Well, in our personal lives and in our spiritual life, it seems like sin always wants to do some creeping in. But we find out that this gentleman here is tired of them, and he wants to rid his ranch and rid his house and rid his tractor, rid everything he can of those little vermin. And that's what we need to be doing spiritually too. If we find an area of our life that we're allowing some sin in, close it up. If we're finding that we're leaving the door open to sin and letting something come in, make sure that you got the door shut tight. See, in our spiritual walk, if we'll walk with God and remove those things and make sure that we don't allow those things to come in that tend to hinder us so many times, we can have a much better life and a better walk with God. Something to think about as we go into mouse season, that's for sure. Boy, we're going to be out here in 10